Hi, Prashant. Prashant, are you here?
Hi, Charuji. I think Shilpaji and all the authors are here. And Shilpaji, can you please start the session?
Yeah, hi. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you all for taking out time and joining us today. Today's program is in collaboration of the Great Indian Book Tour and the Litwit Society, Department of English, Kanoria PG Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Jaipur. Kanoria PG Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Jaipur was established in the year 1965 by late Sri Bhagirath Kanoria with an aim to educate young women. The vision of the college is to empower and equip the students to enter the professional world, instilling values, life skills, and commitment to holistic development and outreach. The college has always been organizing seminars, conferences, and workshops as a regular feature of the curriculum. The Department of English is the oldest and the largest departments in the college. The college offers BA, pass course and honors at the undergraduate level and MA in English at the postgraduate level. It also runs certificate course in functional English and certificate and diploma course in French and German. The college has also been associated with USIEF, Fulbright Nehru English Teaching Assistant Program. The highlights of the department are some of its initiatives, such as Individual Language Lab to promote English language teaching and learning, Creative Writing Club, and Abhivyakti Club, which is an English-speaking forum. It also organizes Saga, an annual literature festival in which several literature-based inter- and intra-college competitions are held. In the year 2020, the Department of English started the Litwits, which is a student-led literary club. Litwits aim to dive into the deeper sense of words, poetry, stories, and everything between the lines with interactive discussions and exciting events with performative literature. Now I will request Dr. Charu Goyal, Head and Associate Professor, Department of English, to welcome our guests.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. On behalf of the Kanoria family, I would like to welcome all the young and brilliant authors, Ritiqua Pachauri, Deepak Shrivastava, Shantanu Sharma, and many Bhardwaj in today's virtual session. I would also like to thank Mr. Prashant Gupta of Great Indian Book Tour for providing our students with this great opportunity of listening and interacting with these authors. And I hope that this session would inspire the students, to pursue their interest of writing wholeheartedly into a wonderful career. Looking forward for a fruitful session and where we will be able to escape the reality of this pandemic or the chaos that is there, the mask and the social distancing into the world of our dreams and imagination. Thank you so much, and I welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charu. When it comes to reading, we assume that reading is for gaining knowledge, to entertain us, and to make us smart. It drives away everything else from your mind and transports you to a different world altogether. So, and I read somewhere that fiction is the lie through which we tell the truth. So, my first question is, according to you, what is the purpose of fiction? I think I'll start with Ritika.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Yes. So, fiction, I think with fiction, the most beautiful thing about about it is that it does help you escape the reality. But, we kind of exaggerate when we say that you're escaping reality. Instead, you're just stepping into someone else's reality. Fiction is nothing but, we say that what are movies? Now movies are just mirror of the society, and so is with your books, so is with the novels. And now we have so many web series and movies which are being adapted through novels or through fiction. So yes, if you're going through some hard times, and everybody is going through some hard times, be it the pandemic or anything else, so when you pick up a book, whatever genre that you might be picking up in fiction, it does help you for some time. It does help you uh, think that my problems are not really necessary to think about right now. What is really important is that the story that I have in front of me. And it does work as a, I would say it does work like a medicine for the time being. But when we keep reading and we keep getting engrossed in the author's ideas and the different characters and the setting and the narration and everything for that matter, I think you find yourself getting soothed by it, whatever genre that you might pick up. It just depends that you need to find interest in that author's work. If not, then it can become very, very boring, very monotonous.
Yeah, right. So, Deepak, I would like to know your views. You are not audible. You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thanks for pointing it out. So first of all, many thanks for inviting me. It's a privilege for me to be part of such a light panel. Just coming back to what just Ritika said, and just to answer your question that what is the purpose of fiction? In my opinion, there could be a lot of purposes, but primarily the way I look at, there could be two purposes. One is like a entertainment, and the second is the inspiration. So fiction is not about just the books. It's about one of the other strong medium, which is like a movie. And we all watch movies, we all read the books, and nowadays there is a TV platform, there is OTT, and so many other things are there. So as an author, uh, so what author they do, they write or create a world which is like a virtual world, and they invite the readers to step in their world and try to experience it. And the time you are part of that virtual or fiction world, you are kind of lost. So it's a kind of entertaining from reader's point of view. Or if you're watching a movie, so it's like you are getting entertained during that time. So that could be one part. Other major part is the inspiration. you know the real world is bit harsh, it's bit complex, it's not so easy. Not everything ends well in the real world, but in the fiction world, more often than not, that you can have like a good ending. And it's a kind of hope or inspiration that, though there is a lot of struggle in the real life, the way the things happen, the way, a lot of twists, turns and have happened, and end of the day, you have got a good ending. So you draw some kind of inspiration from those fiction world as well. So the way I look at it is more like entertainment or motivation or inspiration from the fiction.
Okay, yes, good. So, I think I'll just introduce our authors to our audience quickly. Ritika Pachauri is an Amazon best-selling author from Jaipur. She started writing in 2017. Her first novel was The Affair, followed by Virago, which went on to become an Amazon bestseller in 2019. Her latest novel, Happily Frustrated, is also an Amazon bestseller and is gathering praise from across the country. She also writes thrillers, and her short story, House Number 27, is a horror fiction. It too became a bestseller in 2020. She will be launching her fourth novel this year, which is a crime fiction. Her first poetry book, The Darkness of Light, covers the gray area in one's life. Ritika is an educator by profession. She has recently founded an editing agency, Writer's Street, which aims at helping aspiring authors to write and publish their books. So, welcome, Ritika. And
Thank you, ma'am.
Deepak is the author of A Love So Special, and he grew up in Varanasi. He holds a post-graduation degree in business management from Symbiosis College, Pune. He's an IT professional based in Pune and works for an investment bank. He's a strong believer of philanthropy and has been leading various fundraising efforts, particularly for cancer patients and children. Welcome, Deepak. And our next author is Shantanu Sharma, who is a physiotherapist and marketer by profession and a writer by passion. With 3 published books and currently working on his 4th book, he loves to write and is an avid reader. Shantanu also contributes regularly his articles to multiple journals and magazines. He heads the marketing of the second largest healthcare brand in India and lives in Hyderabad. His books are about the confusion, longing, and depth associated with love and relationships. And our last panelist is Mini Bhardwaj, who is a successful publicist, and she describes herself as someone who was never inclined towards writing, but was always very passionate about Indian mythology, especially Mahabharata, and her attraction towards the underestimated character of Ashwatthama. Her curiosity towards the subject led to unintentional research, which is now shaped into a beautiful book. So once again, I welcome all the authors. And now the same question I would like to ask Shantanu.
So, Shilpa, thank you for introducing us so nicely, and thank you, Charu, for calling us young. It's always a pleasure to be called young. As far as the purpose of fiction goes, I think purpose of anything is being happy. I don't think when we start writing a novel, we write it for an audience. We write it for ourselves, and that is the honestly the biggest purpose of writing is to make yourself happy and spread happiness, because that is the only true reason for you to exist. For me, fiction has always had a purpose of disconnecting yet connecting with reality. I think Ritiqua said it really well that you can't say that it is a perfect disconnection from reality. It's just a mirror, and Deepak also reiterated it, because it may feel that हम लोग कितना imagine करके कितना कुछ बना के ले आते हैं, but it's all reality which we mix and match and try to create something which ordinarily doesn't exist. I think the purpose of fiction and of anything for that matter is to ensure that you are happy and the people who are reading your work are happy.
Okay, yeah, great. And Mini?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for having me here. It's a great pleasure. So it's my first, as you have described, it's my first debut novel. So I guess my perspective is a little bit of different. For me, fiction is a easy way of communication to entertain or to convey our thoughts to the readers. Also, one of the major important thing that I feel about fiction, that it opens a gate for us being an authors, that anything, it's like we can tell about anything that exists in the universe, and it's like without any boundaries or barriers, and that too in a greater skill. Because for me, I think whatever we fiction, it has some existence, and fiction gives us the platform where we can explore our thoughts. It gives us the purpose where we can explore our thoughts in a wider way. So yeah, for me, fiction is this.
Thank you. And I would like to add, I think that it also helps in critical thinking, and it helps in developing empathy in you. I mean, you become more empathetic also. So, and I would just like to tell our audience that after the session, we would be taking the audience questions. So you can keep your questions ready. So we'll have that towards the end. All right. So, like we have seen that many popular fiction works have made a huge impact on both people and the society as a whole. And stories in all forms, they capture the imagination and emotions of the reader. Even the voices of those fictional characters, they remain in your mind even after we have finished reading. So, how fiction can change your perspective on real life, or how can you say that fiction is a reflection of reality? Who would like to go first?
I think I can go first.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I'm giving you the option. Yeah. Okay.
So, for me, I think, yes, fiction is a reflection of reality. It's like a parallel sisters, you can say. Like I said, everything that we fiction has some existence. This universe is very wide, and whatever we imagine, whatever we do, there is some kind of existence. We got inspired from the real life characters that we put it in our fiction theories. Like if I have, like in my book, whatever I have mentioned, I was having some kind of essence of reality in that. I was like, it's a like you can say ki we observe more, we see things like from different opinions, like others said, others see, but at the same time, it's a kind of reflection. There is a kind of reality in every fiction story. Like if we can talk about mythology, so my character, in my book's character, Ashwathama has some kind of existence, but we call it mythology. I don't believe in mythology, I call it as a history. But obviously there is a kind of existence, but we can't prove it. We can't prove it that there is an existence.
Right.
At the same time, we know कि अश्वत्थामा का नाम आया है, कहीं से तो आया है, इसका मतलब वो एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, बट एट द सेम टाइम आज के टाइम पे वो कहाँ है वो हमें नहीं पता. We can't prove it. So what I did, I took the reality and then fiction it.
It was like mythological fiction.
Mythological fiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there is a kind of there is always a reflection in reality and fiction.
Yeah. Deepak?
Yeah. So just would like to add, even you have used a very nice word. So if I remember correctly, so there is a blurb in back of my book, and the line is, "Stories are reflection of our life." So we all have got a very unique stories to tell, and sometimes those events, those small pieces are trapped 1,000 miles within our heart, and they are kind of ready to explode, but probably we don't get the ears to hear those stories, or we don't get the avenues to get it out, or be presented in front of the audience. So in my opinion, we all have got some unique stories to tell. We all have got some events happened in the past which are like within our heart. Probably we don't get the time to tell, and we all kind of inspire or draw some kind of motivation out of that. The only thing is, those events are there. Now we have to take it to the next level to become the story. So adding some kind of fiction, but having the same message which we have seen in the past. So whatever fiction, whatever you read, it cannot be totally 100% fiction. It's a kind of mix of reality and fiction both.
Yeah. Ritiqua? Yeah, I would like to know your views on this.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree with Deepak sir and Mini ma'am when they said that fiction cannot be 100% fiction, because we need to add, or rather every fictional story has a bit of essence of reality in it. Now we can talk about, now people do come up and say that, but what about alien stories, and what about zombies and all those, and the fantasy subgenre of fiction. But there also you actually involving something. You would have some reason for having those characters, and those characters are going to have some human traits. And as writers, I think we're very observant, because if unless we have that observant nature, we cannot write. Then having said that, you're fictional writers, you're not non-fictional writers. Your writing needs to have a bit of masala. You need to you need to make it extravagant. You have to amplify certain characteristics or traits or qualities in people, or the events that we as individuals might have gone through, or we might have observed people going through. And we need to bring that message really strongly, because unfortunately what's happening is that other platforms, they capture more attention from the audience, when they see and they hear, and then they read, the attention span drops down. So we need to be louder with our words or the narration style. So we bring in a lot of flavor, because we want to give the message. At the same time, we want our readers. I just deferred one point here, that when we are writing a story, we always have an ideal reader in the room, because I want my story to be read. So I want my reader to capture my reader's attention, and for that, in addition to bringing the real essence and the characteristics and the message, we need to bring out the flavor as well. We can do it through the scenes, the settings, or the narration style. But yes, fiction and reality, they go hand in hand. We cannot divorce them.
Right. Yeah. Shantanu?
Um, I agree with Ritika and Deepak and Karthik. I'm sorry, and Mini,
Winnie.
because your name is showing as Karthik.
And
That's
Karthik Saini, yeah.
so I'm just going to say that a lot of time fiction helps us in understanding मैं ऐसा क्यों हूं? And for me the essence of reality is very hazed out in our mind because we are being bombarded by so much information all through the day. A lot of time we are not able to understand कि यार मैं जो कर रहा हूँ वो मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? Why am I in this particular work? Why am I even writing? So when you sit back and you think about fiction, and fiction involves a lot of thinking. A lot of people say कि यार ठीक है, imagination आया, कुछ आया मन में, कवि की कल्पना हुई, and you started writing. It doesn't work like that. You have to do a lot of thinking. You have to create instances. You have to link instances, and that makes a full story. To make that happen, you really have to go inside and see what you really feel. And no author or no writer can say that they are truly dissociated from their story. Some part of the story is related to something that has happened in their lives directly or indirectly, which means it is a very good tool for everybody to understand. And all of us are same. Ultimately, we have all gone through the same experiences, same losses, benefits, found money, found people, lost people. And every story that is helps you connect to something, which is why I think reality is a very important part of fiction and it cannot be completely dissociated.
So I think my next question is loosely based on whatever you have said. So I'll just ask it so that you can just throw some more light on this. You people create people who don't exist in real life, and which is really fascinating. So when you create your characters, do you base them on real people you know, or you just come up with people that you think might be entertaining to the readers? So how do these ideas come to you? Like, who are your writing influences?
Okay, so I'll take it two ways. I'll take from Ritika and Mini here. Ram actual में थे कि नहीं थे, who knows? You just believe it, right? It may be a very powerful, good person who was then transformed into a god. Similarly, do we have aliens in the universe? Does a Thanos actually exist or not? Nobody knows. You're just taking up something, and what you are doing is you are looking at the world today, and then you are just bouncing off things into characters and bringing them to play. Which is why, if you look at whether you look at novels or movies or anything, if you look at up till 2000, I'll take a topic which is pretty close to my heart. Up till 2000, there were no women-oriented stories. But over the last 10 years, you can count every year there are 15, 16, 18 movies plus stories plus films, plus books which are women-centered. Which only means कि ऐसा नहीं है कि अब एकदम से कुछ बदल गया है. It is just that what you are seeing in the society around you, you're just bouncing it off and creating characters. Sometimes this character will be mischievous. Sometimes this character will be funny. Sometimes this character will be larger than life and grand. But ultimately, you look at people around you. So it's not really something that we've picked out from thin air. You saw a certain thing and then you put it into character and meshed it together.
Yeah, like current events, cultural values, societal fears, I think they all play a major role in setting
Absolutely.
up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ritika, would you like to shed some light on this?
Sure, ma'am. I think it was only Sidney Sheldon who ever wrote female protagonists.
Right.
Yeah.
And, yes, you're right.
Undoubtedly,
Yeah, undoubtedly.
yeah, undoubtedly one of my favorite authors of all time.
Yeah.
We can say the first mentor of writing. And I think when you read a particular author and you read particular protagonists or antagonists, when you keep reading them, I think the characteristics kind of brush on you. So when they brush on you and you grow up reading those kind of stories or novels, you start writing like them your protagonist or antagonist or whatever whosoever the lead character is would have those traits. So yes, having said that, again, never had many female authors. We had handful.
Handful,
And
right.
going back to the eras 60s, 70s, it was Virginia Woolf, and I would like to quote her. I'm sure the literature people, they know about Virginia Woolf. There's a story in my room, a room of my own. And when you read about Virginia Woolf, actually, how she writes about things that women are still fighting for, a space of my own. That's there in that particular work of hers. When you read about Virginia Woolf herself, she would take off from her daily chores. She would book a room in a hotel, and the only thing she would ask from the hotel people were, I need a notepad, a pen, a bottle of sherry, and I don't want anybody to disturb me. I just want to write. So when you read women authors who have come before us, and there were a few, handful, I would say, and the struggles they went through and they started writing, I think you feel blessed because you're carrying forward the legacy as far as the women authors are concerned. But then when we talk about how our characters are shaped, I think it's a lot. When you shape your characters, you take influence from the authors you've been reading, from the stories you've been reading, the experiences that you go through. And I think women, I can say, because my protagonists are always women. My protagonists, you will always find them women. So I think we have more flavor to the character. We have a larger palette to work with, color palette, more shades to them.
Yeah.
So when you observe people, like I said, that we as writers have to be very observant. We can't get away with that. And then you kind of amplify. You can amplify those characters, and then you bring out a real strong character, because you want a strong protagonist, you want a strong antagonist if you're writing thrillers. And even contemporary fiction, or even cozy mysteries, any genre. If we take mythology, like Mary ma'am said that she doesn't believe Indian mythology is mythology, and I strongly agree with her. It's history. So you pick up a character from history and you put that character in the modern context. You think, अच्छा, ये कैसे करेगा ऐसे situation में? कैसे किया होगा? You think a lot, and that is when you start writing. So I think the characters we create are not out of thin air. We pick up from our lives, but yes, we do add the traits and the trauma and the fighting spirit. Phoenix बन के निकलेगा या वो ढह जाएगा. It depends upon the writer, ultimate goal. But yes, the main essence is from the people we live with.
Thank you. Deepak?
Yeah, so I totally agree. So I think in our daily life, we come across so many different people, and we have got a lot of influence of these people, the way they talk, the way they look, the way they conduct and behave. So few people have such a great influence on us that they remain within us kind of everlasting. And as an author, when you try to write something, and when you have got a similar kind of character within your story, then you try to just correlate the real world character with your story character. Just to give an example, so within my book A Love So Special, there is a police inspector, and that person is very like desi kind of, coming from a small place, the way they talk, the way he has to behave. So I kind of seen similar kind of person, one of the famous actor Pankaj Tripathi, very very similar kind of character, the way he would speak, the way he would behave. So when I was writing that character, that police inspector character, so it was kind of Pankaj Tripathi was kind of giving me influence to write those character, to write those dialogue. So I think overall, so whatever characters we pick is totally around ourselves only, in the real life, or maybe we have seen somewhere in the movies and other places. So these people certainly influence in terms of picking up or how those characters are going to behave in our fiction world.
Yeah. Deepak's and Ritika's answer have piped another query in my mind. Does reading fiction makes one more creative, or like compared to any other genre? How does fiction helps the reader?
So you would like to say first?
Yeah, please go ahead, Ritika.
I really believe it. I've been a reader. I think every good writer is a better reader. And reading fiction definitely makes you more creative because it fills your head with so many ideas. And it's not just with terms of words. Of course, your word bank improves, your vocabulary improves. But I think when you see so many different characters, it also depends what kind of genre are you reading. So we always suggest when I teach kids, I always tell them don't just stick to one author. Don't just stick to one genre. Read different genres, read different kind of works, read flash fiction, short stories, read everything. And when you do that, I think then when you read 100 different kind of books, that is when you come up with one idea which would be, mind blowing. You never know. You definitely become more creative with your approach with respect to not just academically, I would say, but how you deal with people. Even that.
Your analytical and critical abilities or thinking also improves, I think.
I certainly think so.
Yeah.
That every
I
aspect.
think your opinions evolve.
But I think yes,
because like Ritiqua said rightly, you are very observant, so your opinions get formed. Otherwise, it's just you're living through life. So you become more opinionated, I think, as you.
I think you suddenly start every fiction, when you read fiction books, I think the purpose is that we as writers would want reader to connect with one of the characters. Because if you can get the reader to connect with one character, you can be sure that the reader will finish reading the book. And when you read, of course, you have to feel the connect. When you start feeling the connect, I think that is when you develop a lot of skills. You become creative, analytical, logical. You start dealing with people and how to deal with that people. I can deal like that also. मुझे ऐसा respond नहीं करना चाहिए. I think this is a better way to respond. Yes, okay, now we have a recipe for disaster. So we kind of start thinking from a different point of view. I think our horizons, of course, that widens. Yeah.
And I think the in terms of analytical skills, so like if you're reading a mystery kind of thing or you're writing something, so you feel that probably this case is going to be solved by this way, but in the end you come up with something totally different.
Different, yes.
So as a writer, you always kind of think that how I can surprise the readers. So certainly in terms of analytical skills or the way you write, you pick a few of the words like very flat to say, like you can say in one sentence, but how to become a more creative and put it in word which can look like a more beautiful. So in terms of analytical skill or creativity side, there is a lot of rooms to explore if you are a reader or writer.
Mini?
Uh, Yeah. So for me, yes, like I'll give you the example. If we can take a paneer. So a paneer is a product, and we can like chef can make it, or we can make it like shahi paneer, kadai paneer, palak paneer. There are different of paneer. So as a writers, we are like the same kind of. We do also the same kind of thing. We take a product or a person or a character, and we modify it in a different story, different fascinating story. Like if I am writing on Ashwathama, then other people can also write on it, but the story would be different. So this thing makes us more creative, and also it changed the way of thinking. Like if one people reading my story of Ashwathama, their perspective would be different. If they're reading anyone's others Ashwathama, their opinion would be different. So it gets a different kind of thinking, analytical as well, critical as well. And every author, I believe, has so much to say. So much.
Right.
And I agree with Ritiqua ma'am that if you want to be a good writer, then just don't stick on famous authors or certain authors. Just read every author, because there are so much stories involved in that. There are so much experiences involved in that. There is so much of reality involved in that, and from there you can get one thing to write, to show your book. So yeah, for me, this is it.
Good. Okay, and when you read fiction, at times you just fall in love with the characters so much that they stay with you for so long that even after you finish reading the book, like you start idolizing them, they become your role model. You start looking up to them despite knowing that they are fictional characters. Like long time back, way back in 80s, when I had first read Jeffrey Archer, my first novel was Cain and Abel. So I would say I had fallen in love with Cain and Abel. So they are my first love, I would say. Then later it was Howard Roark from Atlas Shrugged, and lately it is Ella from Elif from the 40 Rules of Love. So, have you, as an author, ever got attached to the story or the character that you're writing about that you fail to distinguish between reality and fiction?
Okay, I'll take this.
Okay.
First, I'll take this. I believe yes, because this is my first novel, and it happened to me by chance. To be honest, like I was very much into I'm publicist. I'm a celebrity publicist, so I was never inclined towards writing that, like you described. So this character basically made me to, like, like he forced me to write the book, you can say. Matlab, I was so much got involved and I was so much attached to that character that I started feeling his pain and his miseries while I was writing the book. Matlab, in my book it's a story of a baba, Ashwathama Baba, and a girl is finding the baba, his babas, and in this Kalyug, and then she's trying to help him to get out of all his miseries in this Kalyug. So while I was writing that, so I also started feeling that pain. I also started assuming that yeah, he's my baba. I started talking to that character while I was writing. I started talking to that character. I started talking to people about that character, and then one of my friend told me that, Minnie, what are you doing? You're just too much involved in the story. And I started feeling very emotional about the story. Like I remember my family, it was a lockdown, and वो महाभारत का वो time वापस से शुरू टीवी पे दिखाया जा रहा था. I was writing my book at that time, and my mom and my sister told me कि यार ये अश्वत्थामा बड़ा अजीब character है. मतलब he is a shadow of his father. He doesn't take a stand. So I got offended that time. I told my mom, it's a very stupid thing, but yeah, it can relate to your question. I told my mom, why are you saying like this? Matlab, you don't know about anything about Ashwathama. He's in so much pain. He's the one of the most powerful character that you're ignoring him. He's the character that he's still alive in this Kalyug. He's feeling that pain. He has no one in this Kalyug. He has no family. So for me, it's like he's not the shadow of his father. He's one of the main characters. So please don't say like this. So my mom was like, he wasn't aware that time that I'm writing a book. So my mom was like, why are you so much attached to that character? I don't know, maybe. Maybe it could be one of the reasons that I find him very fascinating. But at the same time, when my mom got to know, okay, you have written a book, then she got an idea, oh, so you were living his life at that time.
Yeah, you start living a parallel life with them. And I think you start taking those criticisms personally. Yeah, मुझको किसी ने criticize कर दिया.
Yeah, that's true. It happened to me actually.
Yeah. Deepak, would you like to go next?
Yes, certainly. There are times when we kind of associate ourselves with the fictional character. So when I was writing my book, so I was kind of living a life of my main character in the book, and it was so much that the kind of pain and the complex life that person was going on, it was kind of going through in my mind. And many times while writing, I kind of cried, cried alone. And I was so much living that character that when I was telling the story to my wife, it was like I was on the side of that character, and my wife was not kind of liking that character so much. It was kind of so much fine. I would kind of glorify that character, that person has done this, though we were talking about the fiction, but in reality, I was on the side of that character. So it does happen that you kind of live the life of a fictional character. Few of the other example, like I read one of the book of Sudha Murthy, The Mother I Never Knew, which is again a very relational kind of fiction, where there is a relation between mother and son, and how the son is kind of not with mother, and the whole thing happens. So again, when I was reading, I was quite a lot in the book, in the sense that I'm part of that character who is lost in the book. So it does happen times.
Yeah. And at times, this invisible fictional third person creates trouble in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start spending more time emotionally and mentally with that person. That I think starts affecting your personal life, whether it's your marital life or whatever, friend circle, whatever you can say. Yeah, yeah, Ritika. Yeah, we would like to know your views on this.
I have written 3 books. 3 books got published. I've written fourth.
Wow.
Fourth one was a hell of a task for me because crime fiction, multiple narration, framed narration, writing the protagonist, writing the antagonist, and the antagonist is a psychopath. I live in a joint family. I have a little son. So doing everything while ensuring that I'm not losing my sanity was a task for me. But yes, every time I've written a book, I kind of call myself experimental writer because I want to become the protagonist and then write. Only then I can write. So my protagonists always have some flaws which are very real. But then I cannot write about it until I need to try that once. कैसा होता है? Psyche क्या हो जाएगा उसका? What will be the psyche of that person? So it affects everything for some time. And I remember when I was writing my first novel, my son was 1 year old, and I wrote that novel on my phone because I couldn't open the laptop, and I would wake up at 4 in the morning with him in my lap, bottle uske मुंह में, एक हाथ से, and I would type because वो इतना ideas होते थे. And I just fell in love with the protagonist. I always am, I want to be the protagonist until and unless I am writing from the antagonist point of view. So it flips. That is when I flip completely. So when I was writing my fourth, my husband did ask me, "Likhna kyun hai? You're just losing yourself." I have to. I think this thing needs to be out of the market. I think people need to know that something like this also happens. I cannot speak about it, otherwise my publisher will be like, "Kya aapne itna kyun bata diya?" But the other side is that I was losing, and it becomes difficult. It really becomes difficult. If you're writing a dark novel, when I say a dark novel, I think with less darker genres, I think that also affects, but not to that extent. And I'll coming back to you, like as readers, you fall in love with people, or it's always been the case. I think I've always found myself being fascinated by one of the characters, and I feel, "Arey, khatam ho gaya book. Up next." If there's a series, I want to get the next.
Next one, right?
If it's not a series, then definitely want to pick up another book by the same author. So yes, I think people who are very emotionally driven and very expressive in their real lives, they become better fiction writers. That's what I feel.
Like when you talked about series, this Jeffrey Archer's Clifton Chronicles series.
Yes.
So when Harry Clifton died, I cried unshamedly, जैसे कि कोई पता नहीं मेरा कोई, and literally I was so depressed कि ये कैसे, मतलब how come he died, और उसको कैसे, क्यों उसने मारा, उसको कर सकता था ना, और your heart starts racing if they are in danger or anything, कि he couldn't reach on time and there his wife was waiting and he met with an accident. So I was like, कैसे, अरे ऐसे कैसे हो गया, ये नहीं होना चाहिए था. So you also start living a life with that character as a reader as well, I think.
Yes, it happened with me in Twilight Saga with Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob. I agree. Also, I want to add one very, a very different and a unique thing. It happened to me. I don't know about others, but it happened to me. Like, I'm a strong believer of law of attraction. So I follow gratitude journal. The secret book has been a lot of important role to play in my life. So I write a gratitude journal. I do scripting. I do affirmations. So like I'm doing it like from last 4 to 5 years. But while I was writing this book, so I was so much involved that I was visualizing things. And I was just writing it, and I was so much involved. Like I said, I was living the life of Ashwathama at that time. So I was so much involved. Like some of the things in my book that I have written, it was just a fiction, but it got manifested. Not all the things, but yeah, some of the things. Like in the law of attraction, you can, what you create, it became your reality. So not all the things, but yeah, some of the you can say that there would be some incidents happen at that time कि वहाँ पे I was so much involved and I started कि वहाँ पे मैं अपना पूरी feelings I was throwing in that. So these are the things that got manifested. So it also a very unique thing that happened to me about apart from that reality living thing.
Shantanu, we would like to know your point of view.
And I honestly feel that if you don't get associated to your story, you can't write it. You have to be there. And I write a lot about relationships, and a lot of my stories are around relationships, which are difficult to understand. But when I'm writing a story, and so I have to be in the middle of it. I'm slightly different for me. I'm never in love with any one character of my film, of my story. It's that I love different aspects of all of them. Because a lot of times it happens that I'm writing a story and I don't know the end. I don't know whether it happens to other people or not, but I'm writing, and I'm writing only because this is supposed to progress in this manner. But I don't know the end, which is I am actually living it. And you cannot write fiction till you actually live it. You have to be there. You have to know the person you are writing about. If you don't know the person intrinsically, you can't convincingly write about that person. So fiction, see, non-fiction can be switch on, switch off. Fiction can never be switch on, switch off. So, and थोड़ा बहुत पागलपन बहुत जरूरी है fiction लिखने के लिए. You need to be a little crazy to write fiction because you have to be in love with one character, two characters, the story, the overall plot. Because once you look at it from a distance, it's like if you look at it from distance, you should be able to say, अच्छा ये चल रहा है, फिर ये होगा, फिर ये होगा, फिर ये होगा, then this is happening. That person is doing this particular action because they have a backstory. So हाँ मुझे इसका बैक स्टोरी भी बताना पड़ेगा, अदरवाइज रीडर को समझ में नहीं आएगा. So all of that you are looking at, and you cannot write a convincing good story till you are in the middle of it. Because as a reader, if you're not understanding what's happening, it's very difficult. And for fiction, it's very important to be really married to your character. Otherwise, it's impossible to write fiction. It's not a switch on, switch off. You'll never be able to write good if you do that.
Yeah, right. So, like, how long does it take your ideas or thoughts to manifest into a book?
It depends on how strongly I feel about it. And it's not that it's not a fixed time. Sometimes I will write 20 pages together and next day just delete all of them. Sometimes you are thinking for days at end, what should happen next? What should happen next? What should happen next? And on the 21st day you realize something, and on the 22nd day you will feel कि नहीं यार इसको दूसरे तरीके से कर सकते. So there's no fixed time. I think it all depends on your frame of mind, and sometimes you have to read the back end a lot of times to see अच्छा इसमें flow क्या बनेगा. So I don't think it's a fixed time. And to start a story, a lot of times there are ideas already floating in my head. So I don't take a lot of time in starting a novel, but it can take some amount of time to go ahead with the novel because I never start with a starting point and an end point. I start with a starting point and then I let it evolve as it goes ahead.
So are you a spontaneous writer or a disciplined one?
I'm a bit of both. I'm very disciplined in the sense that I write every day.
Okay.
But I'm very spontaneous in the sense कि मुझे पता नहीं है कि आज मैं क्या लिखूंगा. Which also means कि हो सकता है कल मैं जो पढ़ूं, I may say what crap have I written, pardon my language. So I may just remove all of it. So I'm very disciplined in terms of I know I have to write every day, and I want to state it out for all the young women watching this. It's not fun. ऐसा लगता है कि यार ऑथर है, लिट फेस्ट में घूमते होंगे, मजा आता होगा. Nothing like that. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of discipline to do this, because if you lose track of your story for a day, 2 days, 3 days, you're finished. You have to go back and start over again.
All over again. Yeah. So Deepak, would you like to add to this?
So for me, it's a little bit different. The way it worked for me, I'm not someone who is writing kind of on daily basis. But the times when my emotions are very high, like either I am very happy or very sad, on those days probably I could write 15, 20 pages. There could be a few days where you are professionally very busy, unless until you are full-time writer. So a lot of us are like doing some job as well. So you are occupied. There is a lot of anxiety. There is a lot of other stuff as well happens. So I'm not someone who would write, but at the same time, the idea keeps coming in the mind. Not necessary that you pen it down, but you have some character. You have like a half a story cooked. You don't know how it's going to finish, but you keep thinking about that. You keep evolving around that. So not necessary that you type it, write it, but it keeps happening within your mind. So I'm not someone that who would write on the daily basis, but all of a sudden probably I could write 20, 30 different pages.
Okay. Yeah. Ritika? Yeah.
I believe that one needs to write every day, but yes, also that at times you might not be able to pen down anything. So yes, and like Deepak sir said, until and unless you're a full-time writer, you cannot devote hours to writing. That is true. So I kind of only bite as much as I can chew. So I would go with 500, 600 words every day. But that means every day means every day. I will sit, I will write so that my story is in flow. I am not breaking, because like Shantanu sir said that if you won't write for 3-4 days, you would actually have to go back, see kya kiya tha, and then abhi kya karna hai. It kind of happens. So I write every day, depending upon the story that I'm writing, the genre that I'm writing in. If it's contemporary, I can write it during any time of the day. If it's thriller or if it's mystery, then I need late evening, night time, because that is when my ideas flow. So it depends what emotion I am in. Of course, when I'm very happy, I can never write. I've seen that. I'm just not able to write. So I think I need to be sad to write, unfortunately. But that is how I am. But yes, you need to write every day. You sit and write every day. 500, 600 words, not more than that. Even less will do. As long as you're giving 30 minutes a day, kuch to kar rahe ho aap. If not 20 pages, 1,000 words. That will also do. But yes, do it every day.
Minnie, what are your views on this?
Uh, well, mine is completely different from Deepak sir, Ritika ma'am, and Shantu sir. I'm very spontaneous as well as very moody. So I can write on daily basis. But yeah, I'm like, sometimes it also happens that while I'm writing, I started getting bored. Like, yeah, I don't want to write, and I just turn it off. I don't want to write because I'm no in a mood of writing. And sometimes it happens that I can write like for a whole night or for a whole month or for a whole week. So yeah, I'm very moody about this thing, spontaneous as well as a little bit of moody. So, but yeah, one thing that I do, that whenever something clicks in my mind, I just make a note, a keyword on my phone, so that when I'm writing, I know what clicks on my mind that time, so that I can create the ideas. Yeah.
Well, you all come from different professional sphere. So has it ever conflicted with your writing or has it influenced you in some way? Yeah. Ritika, would you
I
like
think
to? Yeah, Deepak, please.
for me, it's kind of, I would say, that influenced me, that I come from the industry which is like a people oriented industry. There will be a lot of people around you, and as a writer, as an observer, you keep looking at the way people behave, because everybody is kind of unique. Everybody has got some unique circumstances. So you need to talk quite a lot with different people, understand their complex situation. Sometimes few people, they share their personal issues as well. uh, so all this thing you very silently observe, and somewhere you find few stories here and there, and then when it times to writing, then probably you pick a few of the things from your professional life or personal life. Then certainly for me it's a kind of influencing be within the people.
Shantanu?
I think there are two parts to this. One is, of course, the time constraint is there because you're in a different profession that takes up 8-9 hours of your day, which means you have lesser amount of time for this. But since you're happy doing it, this 1 hour may feel the most important hour of your day. That is one part of it. The second, like Deepak rightly said, because of the profession, I have to travel a lot. So I observe a lot of people within my work, outside of work, sitting at airports, fighting with guards, fighting. So you see a lot of things happening around you, both in office, outside office. And that sort of gives you characters to work on. That sort of gives you responses of different people. I mean, just because I would respond in a particular way doesn't mean that's the only way to respond.
Right.
So that gives you a very wide variety of things. So those are the two angles for me as far as the professional thing is concerned.
Ritiqua?
I would say that I'm blessed to be a teacher, and that to an English teacher, because any which ways I'm reading a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about it a lot. And then when you go to school, any which ways meeting so many people that and everybody has a story to share, and they respond differently. When you take one topic and 10 of us are sitting together, everybody is going to respond differently. So when you observe them, that you do get inspired. Okay, fine, this, and I tell them if they have a good story to share, can I use it in one of my books? And they're very happy to say yes, of course you can.
Yeah.
So I think I'm very happy with what I'm doing. That there's no conflict.
Oh.
They're very in sync.
Yeah. Mini?
Like I completely agree with Deepak sir. It really influenced in my life as well. Like I'm from entertainment industry, so writing is also a kind of part of entertainment industry, like movies, web series, and everything. So it helped me in my career to grow. Like I'm a publicist. I used to write press notes, press releases, coverages, and everything. And this thing, that press releases and the news stories also made me to, inspire to write a book. It helped me because I started creating content from press releases, then to book. So yeah,
Right.
my career is like a add-on on this writing part.
We have seen many professionals like Chetan Bhagat, Amish Tripathi, who quit their lucrative jobs to take up writing full-fledgedly. So, do any one of you intend to take up writing as a full-time profession?
100%.
So according to me, until I'm not getting very good paid from this end, I'm happy to be like doing both of the things, because writing is my passion and PR is my profession, and they both are somehow together. Matlab, they are kind of related to each other. So I'm happy to doing both of things. But yeah, until I'm getting good pay amount from full-fledged writing, so I will definitely switch it. Otherwise, I'm happy.
I think just to be very clear. So for me, the way I look at it, like, writing or publishing book is not like a money making business. Unless until you are in the top league, few of the names which you took, Shilpa, like Chetan Bhagat, Amish Tripathi and all, if you are in that volume, then it's a different story altogether. But for living, if you're thinking that you become a full-time writer and economically or financially, that will make you, in that league. So it's a very difficult. So for me at least, so writing is kind of my passion. That is the way I have taken. I'm not someone who would think about writing maybe 10 different book in my lifetime, but probably I would write 5 different book. My life is worth of 5 different books. But financially, same time, I think I have to continue what I'm doing. So that is the way I'm looking.
Even if I become a celebrity author, which I pray that I do, I'm not going to leave modern. I work in modern school. I love that place. That's been my launching pad, and I've got so much of support there. And I love teaching also. I love spending time with kids and explaining them the importance of reading and writing and how they can express themselves more, seeing them grow as individuals. It's a different kind of satisfaction. that I get. So even if I do become a celebrity author, like I said, and I pray I do, I'm going to tell my, or rather request my directors, aap mujhe hatao mat, you keep me as a part-time, but I'm not leaving school for sure. I love that.
Yeah.
I think there are multiple things to this, Shilpa. I think I quite agree with Deepak and Mini that there are financial aspects to it. And on this forum, I would not go too much into it, but to sugarcoat it, you need to be big in order to make a certain amount of money. So, leaving the financial aspect aside and being truly crazy and fictional, have that dream. I mean, it's okay. If you have to love what you do ultimately. So
Yeah.
if you don't love your job, do another job. Continue writing. If you love writing, write. It's not just books that you can write. There are people who have not written a single book and yet are writers. So there are multiple options. A lot of times we get limited in our head कि यार अगर मैं book लिखूंगा ना तभी मैं writer हूँ. It's
Right.
not like that. There are people who have written not a single book. They write different forms of things, and they are still writers and are able to sustain themselves. The important thing is you should love what you do.
Right.
Life is too short. If you don't love what you do, please do something else. Otherwise, or ultimately, I don't know about anybody else. A lot of our parents have just lived the way they were supposed to live to give us a life that we have. Now, if we also do the same, we are disrespecting them.
Good. So, do you believe in writer's block?
Yes, I do. There is this writer's block, and it's a hard climb at times.
It's a very
It's
evil
difficult to
thing.
get out of it. Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a very evil thing because I remember I got a writer's block at a very critical stage in my third novel where I had just killed somebody off. And now I didn't know what to do. Because that was a central character in in the entire story. And now you have killed that person off. Now what happens? And then I was at it. I mentioned some time back about 20 days of not knowing what to do next. I didn't know how to take it forward from that thread. So it's very real. Writer's block is very real. It's a very painful thing, like Ritiqua said. So I do believe in it for sure.
Deepak, can you?
Yes, certainly. I think, in my opinion, that's very natural as well. That you cannot continue the same pace in any creative thing. There are times when you are kind of in the full form, and as I said earlier, that probably you could write like a 30-40 different pages in 2 or 3 days time. But there are times you are kind of just stuck. Uh, you're not able to proceed further, either in terms of the ideas or either in terms of how to translate your idea into writing. So there are times it happens. It's just like there are a few cricket players. Sometime they are in very good form, and sometime they get out without any reason. So that is the way it happens. So I think it's a very similar for writers as well.
Mini?
Yeah, I completely agree with Deepak sir, Shantanu sir, and Ritika ma'am. Sometimes it's very depressing as well. You start getting depressed when you're stuck at some point of time and you're not getting ideas or anything, and it draws your energy very down at some times. So yeah, I completely agree. It's very painful.
Okay. So, like now, before we take up audience questions, would you like to give any tips for aspiring writers?
Can I go?
Yeah.
I think the first step would be read a lot. Read different authors, read different genres. Read British literature, American literature, Indian literature, Australian literature, whatever you can find, read. So because that will give you an idea what kind of literature you like. Once you know that this is the kind of literature I like to read, only then can you produce something on paper. Because you cannot write something that you don't like to read yourself. And the second would be try writing everything: flash fiction, short stories, novellas, novels, poems. Take up screenwriting, collaborate with people, get to know what are you good at? Write songs, get into rap. So because then only, until unless you try different things, you wouldn't get to know where you're good at, where your strength lies. Once you find that, then you can keep working on that.
Yeah. Deepak, any tips for the aspiring writers?
I think, yeah. So one of the thing, so we all writers, like, we write from our point of view, and we like that. That is the reason, we write it. Just like in the real life, we say something and we feel that we are correct, right? And but conflicts happens, the argument happens because different person has got different point of view. So if you're writing something or you have kind of completed your story, then it's good to take a feedback from, I'm not saying with everyone, at least with a few people. There are a few beta readers to whom you can kind of give your manuscript and get the feedback. So as I said, like, we write from our point of view, but still there are a lot of flaws. Sometimes we kind of stress the few things a little bit more, or somewhere we don't put the proper emotion or we don't describe. So it's better to just keep taking the feedback as much as possible. That will improve our story as such and our writing skills as well.
Vinny, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so yeah, I agree with Ritika ma'am. Read a lot, read different genres, and also I just want to add one thing in that be an observant. Observe thing as much as you can. Like a bed sheet, the color of the bed sheet of your bed can also gives you a idea. An auto wala can also give you the idea. It helps to make a character of your story. And also just be patient because it requires a lot of patience. Be positive. That's it.
Shantanu?
Oh, there are so many. Okay,
Yeah.
so
We would like to know.
read, and then read some more. Um, the great Javed Akhtar said, and I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect. For every one word you write, you have to read 10. You read 10. You read 1,000 words for one word that you write. That has to be the ratio. Because if you don't read, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just doing things that you want. So read. So read a lot, listen, and watch. A lot of times, I think Mini said it very correctly, that you watch small things happen around you, and that gives you an idea, and that gives you inspiration. If you ask any author, there is no single inspiration that you have. There are multiple things that happen around you. Of course, you say your parents may be inspiration, your partner may be inspiration, but they are inspiration for you to write. They're not inspiration for you to write this story. So read a lot, see a lot, listen a lot, and be open, and take all feedback seriously. Some take trolling also seriously.
Yeah.
You have to, as an author, you have to take trolling seriously, because that is what the person really feels about you. सारे आपके जो सारे फ्रेंड्स है ना, उनको आप बुक दोगे, वो बुक पढ़ेंगे भी नहीं और आके बोलेंगे बड़ी अच्छी बुक थी यार, बहुत मजा आया. So you have to genuinely take all feedback seriously, and I can't say this enough. Read.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think now we'll open the floor for audience questions. Yes. Yes, Yashwanti?
I would love to ask that, is writing a story easier or writing a fiction? Like writing a biography or some is easier than writing a fiction?
Yeah, please, Ritika.
I'm working on a biography currently, and it's about a freedom fighter from Rajasthan. I cannot disclose the name right now, but it's giving me very difficult time because I'm not a biography writer. I'm a fiction writer. It depends. If you are into biographies, autobiographies, you like to do research about the person that you're writing about. If you are interested in history, if you're interested in what particular field they came from, then you're going to find it interesting. Suppose you pick up a biography of a person who comes from the 30s and the 40s. First of all, you need to go back and read about that era. Then you need to read about what kind of profession was he into and what kind of limitations he might have faced during that time, right? So it depends. Biography becomes a vast area, right? So depends what you're working with. Fiction also, it depends. In fiction, which genre you are writing and which narration you are taking. Is it multiple narration hai? So of course usme time lagega aapko, because you have to step into different characters and write. But I personally enjoy writing fiction more as compared to biographies, because I have a bigger playground for myself. I can work around more.
Divya, I would request you to unmute yourself and ask.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am, my question is to Ritiqua ma'am actually. Ma'am, while reading fiction, we can escape the reality, but we can't escape it forever. And when we come back to reality, it hits different, because while reading fiction, you develop a whole new perspective of world. So how one can deal with that?
See, you have to deal with your problems with yourself. Fiction is not going to help you dealing. Fiction cannot help you deal with the problems until and unless suddenly you find a book which actually talks about your problems. The character is just your mirror image. But fiction, what it does, it gives you that pat on the back when there's nobody else. It gives you that hug when there's nobody else to give you that hug. It kind of works like an ointment on that burn. It soothes you for some time. And you actually need that kind of soothing. You need that kind of hug. And sometimes you never know, but while reading fiction, you might just get inspired to deal with your problems. You have to take the bull by its horns at times, right? So you never know fiction does that, because it has done for people. It has done for me. And that's why I love reading. Whenever I find myself in a very tight situation, when I find myself, I can't deal with life the way it is at the moment, because it's tight and everybody's life is very tight these days. I pick up a good thriller, a gruesome murder mystery, and you have no idea the comfort I get from reading it. So it depends upon your taste, of course, but yes, it does help.
Maria, you can ask your question.
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, it was really fruitful attending today's session. Had a lot of fun. My question is for Deepak sir. Sir, in your book Love So Special, I was wondering if the protagonist Nikhil and his son Raghu, were they inspired by any real life people you ever met, or they are just pure fiction?
Well, first of all, thanks for reading the book. As I said, like you might have read the blurb as well, that stories are reflection of our life. Um, so I don't want to disclose that, but just to tell that obviously I have come across few people who have kind of a specially able child, and I have seen the hardship of those people. You know, so in some way we always keep complaining about we haven't got this. God has been not so kind with us. But look at few people who have got their children as especially able. They are not same as any other kid next to us. So I have seen few of the people on the personal level, and the kind of trauma and the social issues they get. It's very, very difficult. uh, so I wouldn't say that it's a total reality, but there is a part of reality as well as part of the story. So it's a mix of fiction and reality.
Komal wants to ask, while writing, if we get stuck somewhere in a particular zone, like we don't know what to do next, then what should I do? Any one of you can answer this.
Komal, I would suggest taking a long, quiet walk. Just be, just be alone. Don't think about it. The more you fret over it, the more it will run away from you. You have to just leave yourself and be where you are. Another thing that works for me sometimes personally is I pick up a book and read. Sometimes reading gives me an idea कि अच्छा हाँ शायद ये हो सकता है. It's not exactly copying, but it just gives you an inspiration. But being with myself has often helped me a lot in breaking that writer's block.
And Kusum wants to ask, ma'am, writing a story or biography, what is your opinion? Writing a story or a biography, what is your opinion?
Biographies are tough here. Biographies are damn tough. So I have not tried biography. First, I don't know any big people, so what biography will I write? But biography is tough. It's difficult. But if you can write a good biography, nothing beats it. Because that's a real story. That is the truth about somebody. So if you can work that out, that I think that is really good for me.
Also, I would like to add one thing in that. In biography, you need a very correct information. And you also have some kind of boundaries and foundations that you can't expose such things. So it also gives you a writer's block at that time. Because now you have been stuck at this point where you have to expose that thing, but you can't. So it makes things very tough to write it. And in fiction, you can explore anything without any logic. You don't have boundaries. But in biography, you have to put logic. You have to put inputs correct. So and that requires a lot of research. Also, the biography on what people you are writing, their input is also matters a lot. So you have to write them according to them. You have to make your biography according to them. You can't, if someone is saying that I don't want to put that thing in my story, and you're thinking that this input can make this biography very very interesting, but you can't do it. You have barriers. So this is like one of the main thing that I think a major issue in writing a biography. And fiction is like very easier as compared to biography. But at the end, it depends totally on interest.
Okay, thank you. Suhani, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My question was to all of the authors. There are so many genres, right? So when you're writing, so you pick up a genre. Like when you're writing a novel, it's all about like whatever it is, like the story. It comes under a genre. So changing that genre, like you're done with the book. Now, when you're on to the other book, when you change that genre, is it hard? Like the mindset and like figuring out all of that, like the plot lines and everything in a particular genre, is that hard?
It is. It is. Because this was my first crime fiction that I've written. And earlier, like I was writing contemporary fiction. So it definitely was. And like I said earlier, that was a hell of a task for me. But then we all have just started writing. We're not very old. It's not been years that we've been writing. So we're still exploring which genre would I fit into later on. And given to the kind of competition that we have as writers, or the exposure now that the writers have, so we need to keep experimenting with the genres. You don't want to be confined in a box. So yes, you need to challenge yourself, especially during the initial years. Only then will you grow. But having said that, it is tough when you switch genres.
Thank you. Prachi, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is for Mini, ma'am. I would like to ask that you wrote about Ashwadhama, and he's not a major character, but he's a minor character from Mahabharata. So, what encouraged you to write about him? I mean, there are so many characters in Mahabharata, and which are quite conflicting, like Shikhandi. It was, so what made you?
Yeah. So whenever I used to watch Mahabharata, so I always think that I always find Ashwadhama very attracting character, because if you are into mythology, then you should know that Ashwadhama is one of the Rudra avatar of Mahadev, Shivji. And you know that Hanumanji is also one of the Rudra avatar of Shivji. But you can see in Ramayana, Hanumanji is like one of the main character. He's one of the main attracting character, and he's one of the Rudra avatar of Shivji. But at the same time, if you come to Mahabharata, Ashwatthama is one of the main avatar of Shivji, Rudra avatar of Shivji, but you can see there is a conflict between both of the characters. One is very famous, second one is very very low, and also Ashwatthama is one of the main Maharathi. He born as an immortal. There is a gem on his forehead that makes him very immortal. He was very powerful. At the same time, he was one of the Maharathi. He was Brahman as well as Kshatriya. So these all are the things that make him more powerful. But if you watch Mahabharata, that character was like very less attractive. People doesn't know about Ashwatthama apart from he's the son of Guru Dronacharya. Also, one thing that made him very powerful is that Ashwatthama, at the end of the Mahabharata, 18th day of Mahabharata, when Krishna took out the gem from Ashwatthama, Ashwatthama has been cursed for immortality. Because Krishna just said, you are very proud on this gem that you are immortal, that I'm giving you the curse of immortality to you, that you will be immortal till the Kalyug ends, and you will be like total in isolation, and koi tumse baat nahi karega, you will be in pain and everything. And at the same time, that he's the character that if you are reading the scriptures, that's still alive. This thing also makes him very powerful, that character from Dwapar Yug, it has been by the sayings, people are saying on our scriptures, it has been mentioned that he's still alive. So, I can give you one important point as well, that Krishna chose Arjuna to give aapka Brahma Gyan, which is called Bhagavad Gita. At the same time, you never know that Krishna chose Ashwatthama to be in the queue, to send some of the message. You never know. So these are the things that made me realize that, Ashwatthama is one of the main character of Mahabharata.
Mahi wants to ask, when we read fiction, people around us makes comments that you are reading because of escapism, as to run from the reality, which makes you forward. Sometimes it hits us hard. Other time I dealt with it, but I need an assertive solution to it.
कौन हैं ये लोग जिनको सिर्फ तुम्हारी लाइफ में इंटरेस्ट है?
I swear, the characters in my book are more interesting than you. Yeah. That's the best. That's always worked for me. You can go ahead with that.
And Priyanka wants to know, what is your opinion on true literature as opposed to contemporary literature?
मुझे ना ये question नहीं समझ में आया. What do you mean by true literature?
Yeah, Priyanka, I would request you to unmute yourself and ask.
Because I have not done literature, so I don't know.
Priyanka, are you there?
So I'm coming from a place of ignorance / lack of understanding / jahilpan.
Coming from English background, we have got an opportunity to grill. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Priyanka, yeah.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
By true literature, I mean classic literature.
Okay. And contemporary is
what we have today.
Modern literature.
But the people are same here.
Now, in this particular era, around last decade.
Okay. Like for me, the answer is very simple. The people are the same. It is, it's very difficult for you to decide what to write. I think Ritiqua said it earlier, Mini also said it, Deepak also said it. You have to explore multiple things and you'll end up deciding what you like and what you don't. I am still exploring. I am not sure whether I like a romantic thriller or I like a pure play love story. I don't know. I'm still exploring. So it's very difficult for anybody to say what should you be doing. I don't know what you should be doing. You also don't know what you should be doing. So explore, write multiple things and then see how it works out for you.
Nancy, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. I just, my question is like not particularly for one person, but I would like to ask Ritiqua ma'am. because like I started writing a novel in 2018, but I got like so insecure about it, I deleted the whole thing. I wrote like 25 chapters. So I was like, I'm gonna read more and more and more. So I started writing it again in 2021 in September around, and I've written like 30 chapters. But I'm like too afraid to show it to anyone.
Then don't show it to anyone. You
But like
don't have to.
I also want to publish novel one day. So like how do
Yes.
you overcome that fear?
See, fears are stepping stones to success, like cliche but true. You can do that one thing, like Deepak sir said, that they're beta readers. You can give them you can ask them for feedback, or you can talk to your teachers. I wish I started writing in school or in college. I had the best people to give me the feedback. If you want a genuine feedback,
Right.
if that also, see, never ask. See, if you get into so suppose you have stomachache, right? You will not go to some ABCD to give you the cure, right? You'll go to the doctor. If you happen to fight a lawsuit, you will not go to a doctor, you'll go to a lawyer. Go to the expert. If you want feedback and if you're insecure about your writing, first of all, there's nothing to be insecure about. It's your story, it's your voice. Be proud of it, because you can write while many others cannot, and you have written. So kudos to you. Now, if you want a genuine feedback, you go to genuine people. You can talk to your teachers, go to them, ask them, I want feedback. You don't want to do that, you can, I'll take a moment to talk about it. You can mail it to Writers Street, we give feedback. Okay? You talk to me on Instagram, we give feedback. You talk to authors, where there are many authors, not just me. I'm sure Deepak sir, Mini ma'am, Shantanu sir, they'll be happy to give you feedback. There are many people who do that. So don't be insecure, first of all. It's very easy to say. Having said that, Happily Frustrated, my third novel, I deleted half of it. Because I thought, what is this? क्या लिखा है मैंने? ये तो ऐसा तो हो नहीं सकता. And I deleted it. And when I published it, I was insecure because there are some personal anecdotes there. I didn't know how people are going to react to it. But I did. So you have to take that step to break the barrier. Sir, ke aage jeet hai.
Right. Good. Pragya wants to know, how do you select the name of your characters?
It's I think one of the very difficult tasks, at least particularly for me. I think it's again kind of personal choice. The way I pick up the names, like it could be like a rhyming in nature. For example, my book, there is a husband wife, so I have picked up name like Nikhil and Neha. There are two kids, Riya and Raghu. Two other characters, Parminder and Preet. So that is the way I like. So there isn't, I think, any rule as such. It totally depends on your liking, and obviously if you come across any names which always looked interesting to you. So that is the way I have gone ahead picking up the name.
Yeah, and sometimes what I do, I just find the synonyms of the name and I just add it in my character. It's one of the funniest things and the easiest thing as well.
I pick names randomly from people. Like I've seen a list of people here. I may call somebody in my story Preeti also, or Shilpa also. I don't know, because whether we like, अपने नाम पे copyright नहीं है ना कोई.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Garima, you can unmute yourself.
Good morning to all. My question is from Shantanu sir and Deepak sir. I was always curious about people who don't have literature background, how they write, and I wanted to ask you that what you are doing, like your profession, it's totally different from writing. So I want to know about what was that day like when you thought that you want to write, because it's totally different from your profession. So I want to know about that. What inspired you that you want to write?
I don't think there was any particular inspiration here. I just like to write, and my career choices took me in a different direction, because for whatever reasons. But overall, I think I've been writing for many years. My school, maybe I was writing for school books. I was writing in college for some college magazines. So all of that was happening. I don't think it was a sudden realization. I think it was more of something that you like to do. It was a hobby that sort of became and evolved into something of a passion, and then you continue doing it. And that is true for all authors. People with any background, I am a firm believer that this is something that anybody can do. Because India being such a multilingual country, you're not even limited by language. Anybody can write. It just has to have coherence, and you should love what you've written. That is all that matters. For me, it was more of I just liked and loved doing it, so I continued on with it.
I, I think for me, just to answer, so it was more like since childhood. So earlier in the olden days when we had a Doordarshan and all, so we used to have like a Mushaira and Kavi Shumailan and all. So I used to kind of watch sometime. Um, and in the beginning, it was more like a writing a small shero shairi, kavita, and it was more like a tukbandi kind of thing. But as you grow up from your parent side, there is always बेटा बड़े होके जो engineer बनना है, doctor बनना है, then you professionally you go in that direction. But in the back of your mind, you know that there is something else probably you can do, and writing was one of the thing for me. But initial part of career, you get very busy, you have to like set your career. But when you establish yourself, you're kind of financially a bit stable, then probably you can continue your passion, either it can be writing, music, or anything else. So that is the way it happened. So few of the close people, they gave me good feedback that you should be taking your writing to the next stage. And that is the way like my story evolved, and it got published in a book.
Okay. Well, we are hard pressed with time and we have got a lot of questions queued up, but I think it won't be possible to take up all the questions. So I would really like to thank all of you for such an insightful session, and we really enjoyed the conversation. And now I would like to invite Dr. Preeti Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to thank our panelists.
Thank you, Shilpa ma'am, for giving this noble task of offering the gratitude to the wonderful people we have here with us today. So at the outset, I would like to thank Ms. Ritiqua Pachauri, Mr. Deepak Shrivastava, Mr. Shantanu Sharma, and Ms. Mini Bhardwaj for taking out their time and being here with us and interacting with our students. And I'm sure you've inspired a lot of our students to become writers now. So just keep guiding them all throughout. And we are missing to offer you the kind of welcome Kanoria generally offers, the hospitality we offer when people are here present with us physically. We look forward to the times when we can invite you here physically to interact with the students. And next year, Saga, we are looking positive towards getting rid of this pandemic and soon meeting you all on the platform we really look forward to. That is Saga, the Literature Fest, which we organize under Literate Society. And thank you again for being with us here today. And it was really, really wonderful to hear your opinion about what you're writing and fiction specifically, though we are escaping from the reality. But it is generally said that fiction reveals the truth that, reality generally keeps obscured. So there are a lot of there is a utopia which we all have generally, and that is something which we are penning down in the form of fiction. This is what I believe. Everybody have their own opinion about it, but then I think that there is something which we have inside us which we are penning down in the form of fiction. We are presenting it to the people that it is like that, but then that is a reality which we are facing in person in life generally. So thank you once again. Words are less to pay gratitude to all of you. And I would like to thank Mr. Prashant Gupta, the founder of Great Indian Book Tour. Thank you, Mr. Prashant, for collaborating with us in organizing this wonderful session. And of course, the lovely moderator, Ms. Shilpa Mehta, for smoothly moderating the show, ma'am. Thank you so much. And we look forward to meet you soon.
Yeah.
And I pay my gratitude, though I should not because they're part of a family of Kanoria. Director ma'am and principal ma'am, they were not able to be with us here because of their prior commitments, but they are always there with us, supporting us in organizing such events. Thank you so much. And of course, our dear students for being here and making the show successful. Thank you all once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy weekend and stay safe.
Thank
Sorry?
you.
Thanks
Happy
all.
weekend and stay safe, I
Yeah,
say.
yeah, of course. Same to you, man. Same to you.
Can I request all to please turn on your cameras so that we can have a virtual photograph,
Yes. Yes.
please? I request all the students to please turn on their cameras.
So all set for the virtual capture. So is Mr. Prashant not turning on his camera? Is he there with us?
I guess he's not here.
I think he has left.
Yes, yeah, Prashant is left.
So here we go.
Sorry, I'm here, but I'm not in the position to switch on the camera. Thank you.
So just keep murmuring. I mean, at least you're there like this. We can see your picture placed on your screen. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, students. Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you, Prashant. And thank you to all the authors for the session. Thank you so much, everybody.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So kind of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.